So welcome back to Pax Europiana. This time I finished the trip to Kosovo. I was here for a week. It was really very beautiful. I met a lot of friends and it was wonderful. I want to thank for the hospitality, for the friendship. The people have not forgotten me. I really had many nice meetings with good friends. And now I'm driving on the super strada on the highway of the nation that connects Kosovo with Albania. I'm going to Albania for 2 weeks. To Durrës, and I will keep you posted. But I would like to talk about this fantastic highway. It cost €1 billion to build here and €1 billion in Albania. It's huge amount of public investment, but it connects these two countries, and it's so important for them because that is the road to Durrës, the most important strategic harbor of the Southern Balkans and the hub for Southeastern Europe. Its future is a bit unclear because it will be now a luxury marina, and then there is the question what really will be the most important harbor. They are talking about the deep sea harbor and a lot of things are moving, so I will discuss that later. But most important is to have this highway. It's finished now since I think 7-8 years. That's now the road to Prizren, to this beautiful capital of the southwestern part of Kosovo. Really beautiful place. And you see now again the geography is changing. You see these flatlands of central Kosovo, Polje, of the Fush Kosovo, of the central fields, and then it's changing. We are crossing these middle mountains here around the Drenica Valley. We have crossed them already behind us, and now we are going to the Prizren Valley, and here the huge peak of Brezovica. Now we see it really very beautiful. I called it the Kilimanjaro of Kosovo, and in many ways it is. I started my round trip at these top mountains. Over there is Prevalle, and this really very beautiful mountain connection towards Prizren. And then we come to this historic capital of the Albanians, Prizren, a beautiful and amazing place, which we unfortunately will only pass at this trip, but at future trips I will certainly visit this beautiful city as well. Ancient and amazing, and a World Heritage Site of prime significance. Yeah, it's unfortunately that Kosovo is still not in UNESCO because of the crazy blockade of Serbia, but the time will come, and in the meantime everything is very nicely restored and beautiful. Now we have crossed this first middle mountains, if you want to call it, here in Mališevo, and we are entering this beautiful wine valley. It's a wine land of significance in Rahovec and Prizren. They have wonderful wine here. And here you see again Brezovica mountain, the Kilimanjaro. This time not in the clouds. This 1 week bad weather is over now. And now you see the amazing beauty of these amazing Alps. On the other side of the so-called Shah Mountains, they call them Shah Mountains, is Macedonia. And on the other side of these huge mountains is Albania. And here comes also the strategic significance of this highway, because as I will outline in one of my future videos in the interviews about the war, this was the Battle of Košare, and this is the link to Albania. And all the supplies in the war 98 and 99 was coming on horseback over the mountains in the winter during the war. Albania was in the big crisis of 97. The arms depot of the communist Albanian states were suddenly opened by the socialist revolution, and then hundreds and thousands of old communist weapons were available for the UČK. They then transported it on horseback over the mountains, and of course there were huge and fierce border battles with the Yugoslavian state gendarmerie and the state border police and the army, obviously, also with helicopters and with air force, all they could bring in order to interdict the access of the UČK towards these borders. It was very hard and it was very brutal, but they kept the lines open, and despite the winter and hard working conditions, they have basically kept this open, and this was the key for the success, together of course with American superior military firepower after the intervention in 99, then from end of March to the Victory Day in June. But here you see the road to Tirana. The international community didn't support this highway, they didn't want it, and they blocked also the funding. But the two states decided to do it because they were all of course involved in the 97 to 99 supply crisis and the war and the independence movement, and they swore themselves that never again Albania and Kosovo will be separated by these mountains. They want to do this highway. They also want to do now the railway. And here's 200 kilometers to Shkodra, the northern capital of Albania, and 200 to the capital of Albania, Tirana. You have seen some of the sites already. Here you see this land, this beautiful wine land, and they have really developed an amazing wine industry with very good wine from, it's called Rachovec, and they have, in the past the wine here was undrinkable, but then the Germans and other donors have really invested heavily in upgrading of wine facilities, and some of the American Albanians have bought some of the big vineyards, and now the wine is some of the best in Southeastern Europe. Very enjoyable and beautiful. It's also economically very strong area here. There's a lot of investment in the construction industry. The famous diaspora is investing in SMEs, and there's a lot of opportunities in the agro-food processing and also in the mining industry and also in the construction industry and in tourism itself, because Brisbane is not only for the Albanians but for all Europeans one of the cultural significant places in Europe, with a beautiful ancient Byzantine church, a Catholic cathedral, an Orthodox church. Some of them sadly were destroyed in 2004, but I can assure you all of them were reconstructed to their prime beauty and to their historic significance with American and European taxpayers' money, and they are in very good condition. One day I will show you Brisbane as well, but I think I did enough for this week. I had only 6 days here, and it was obviously not so easy to show you Klina, to show you Mitrovica, to go also to Brezovica and to show you Prekas, Račak, and all these sites of historic significance for the war. I would have loved also one day to go to Mure. This is now here. When you go another hour to the north again, towards Peja and towards Montenegro, this was the day of the most terrible massacre during the war, where the Serb terror regime killed over 350 people in one day next to Čakovo. There's also a monumental site over there that's basically here below these mountains on the west to Albania. Here, as I said, beautiful vineyards, huge of them. And that's of course the big investment here in agriculture. It's hopefully vineyards, maybe something else. I'm not so much into the agriculture, and judging it here from the side is of course difficult. I just want to say that here now comes Brisbane up. We passed already Suvareka, and then very fast it goes, because it's only about a 1 hour ride on this super highway from Pristina to Brisbane, or 45 minutes depending how fast you go, 1 hour to the border. Today will be a lot of border traffic because it's a weekend coming up, and a lot of Albanians and Kosovo Albanians and the diaspora who spend some days maybe to see the family, but their dream is then to be in Durrës or in Lalsit Bay or in Veliopoje or many of these beautiful places on the border, and they obviously love it, and they will go then over this mountain highway towards Albania and past Brisbane, crossing the border. The famous river over there is the Drin River. You will see some of it, and I will also make a video then on the Albanian side. We need about another 15 minutes or so to cross, but you have seen, I think, how beautiful the place is, how beautiful Brisbane and the Brisbane Valley is, the wine valley of Kosovo, with this beautiful new potential also in industry and also in agri-food industry, and with a huge export reality already towards the European Union. And here is also a very big German organized industrial park, a former military installation of KFOR, which is one of the largest industrial parks in Southeastern Europe, managed by the German government. And that's also something which is now coming up in the next years after Corona, to invest more in manufacturing here in Kosovo, because they have low taxation, they have also all this agro-food potential, and mining potential for the construction sector, and many opportunities coming up also in tourism. So far for now, thanks a lot for listening, and more from this beautiful sunset in Kosovo. And next video I will do when we are passing the border and we crossed over towards Albania along the Drin River. Here straight ahead, Albania is calling you, and looking forward. Bye, thanks a lot.